Hello and welcome to the Arena Sports Show. My name is Clauiee Grace Mpanza, and in today's episode, we're taking you on a trip around the world of sport. Our first stop is athletics, as we take a run in to find out what's been happening at the Hollywood Athletics Club. From there, we bowl over to cricket to find out how the Titans are preparing for the CSA T20 Challenge. And then we move over, ladies and gentlemen. Our final stop is the FNB Stadium, as we find out what's been happening, of course, in terms of the Soweto Derby. We bring in the coolest cat in the land who has played for both Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs to tell us, of course, how this big game has grown over the years, or maybe there's a little bit of something missing there. So we'll get to find out about that, as we do know that thousands of fans will be heading over to FNB Stadium to, of course, watch this. And it is, of course, also an economic boost. So we're looking forward to this. I've got my usual panel. We've got Sizwe Mabena. Panormal has not still kicked a ball, but we are working to try and get him a bit fit. And then we have my favorite sports journalist, who I've been spending a lot of time with this week. I think I've been bumping into him more than Sizwe Mabena, which has been concerning. But that's the show that we have for you today. On that note, let's find out what's been happening on your headlines.
There will be no love lost when Orlando Pirates host rivals Kaizer Chiefs at the FNB Stadium on Saturday, but they meet on the back of contrasting midweek results, with Amakhosi getting a 1-0 win over Golden Arrows, whilst the Buccaneers were held to a 1-1 draw by Cape Town Spurs. The DStv Premiership fixture between TS Galaxy and Mamelodi Sundowns that was scheduled for Wednesday at the Mkhonza Stadium was postponed after the bus of the home team was involved in an accident on Tuesday afternoon. The Springboks have concluded the season-opening two-day National Alignment and Strategic Coaches Session Camp in Cape Town early in the week. The camp was the first since the team's Rugby World Cup triumph in France last year, and since the appointment of Jerry Flannery and Tony Brown as defence and attack specialist, and former international referee Jaco Paper as the team's national laws advisor. The CSA T20 Challenge starts Friday, where franchises will be boosted by the availability of Proteas players such as Tony De Zorzi, Heinrich Klaassen, Keshav Maharaj, Debray Shamsi, Diewald Brevis, Tristan Stubbs, David Miller, Janneman Malan, and Karl Verheyen. Netball South Africa have announced a strong 12-member squad for the Netball World Youth Cup 2025 qualifiers Africa between 16 and 23rd March at the University of Pretoria. The team will be coached by former Netball Proteas player Precious Mthembu, and she will be assisted by Phumza Maweni. Tributes continue to pour in for former Kaizer Chiefs, Bloemfontein Celtic and Golden Arrows defender and popular TV analyst Sphiwe Mkhonza, who died on Tuesday at the age of 45.
A lot has been happening in the world of sport, but starting, of course, with football, it's Golden Arrows who have announced that coach Steve Komphela has found a home. And I love this, Sizwe Mabena, because Steve will never not have a job in South Africa.
He'll never not have a place in South African football.
Yes.
He's one of those people that I think adds value, not only from a coaching perspective, but also when you listen to him talk, he educates fans. I love the work he did, of course, during the AFCON. As a pundit as well. Thought he was great with the national broadcaster. So he's someone South African football needs. He sells the game well. He's been a great player back in the days, first captain on the international scene. I feel a bit for Maputi Kenyeza. And there's a story I have to tell here. In December, Julius Kosana, early December, I'm talking first week of December.
Clearly, we like Julius Kosana.
I love him. Love him to bits.
Yeah, no. I love him more, though. But anyway, yes.
Yeah, because you're the legs, you know.
I mean.
So, but he said to me then, I think Arrows had just lost a few games in a row.
Yeah.
Nothing hectic. But he said he'd been watching Arrows for a while, and he was concerned about their style of play. And he gave maybe a bit of a warning to Maputi to say, listen, things aren't looking right for the future.
For sure.
These few games could turn into a lot of games. And here we are now, and it's turned into a lot of games after the AFCON and so on. So I thought it interesting that one coach could already predict that things aren't going right, and they don't look like they're going to go right anytime soon, because Chere is a coach as well.
For sure.
But yeah, I have to feel for Maputi Kenyeza, but hey, maybe Steve can turn things around.
From an influencer perspective, I'll bring in my influencer, Mahlatse Mphahlele, because when you look into Steve Komphela as well, not only is he a coach, but he's also in his own right an influencer, because I see a lot of my friends, they always coach when they want to go blow money. Steve Komphela once said, sometimes forget the budget, because Steve Komphela once said that. And on top of that, I mean, there's ads that he does, and he jumps onto that. So he's also quite influential in that space. Yes, in terms of coaching, which you've alluded to, but he's a character that most South Africans relate to.
Yeah, well, I mean, talking about Coach Steve, You know, you will really struggle to come across somebody who will genuinely don't like the guy.
Elasto Kapaweza.
Well,
I say Shugi.
and David Mahlatse, there's all those guys that he has had a problem with. But I mean, it's a very, calculated man. I've interacted with Coach Steve for many, many years. Traveled with him on the continent with junior national teams, under 17, under 20, under 23s. So yeah, I do have that sort of Smalanyana thing for him as a human being. He's a very good human being, a very good coach, somebody who has made a good contribution to our football.
Yeah.
A lot of players that he has coached, speak very, very highly of him. Even away from football is somebody that you can talk to, and that kind of thing.
For sure.
I think it's not surprised that he's gone to Golden Arrows. They've been through quite a bit. 11 games without a win is too much. And I'm sure he'll go there. He will try and help them. And looking at the Arrows situation, we were speaking to Mabudi Kanyenza the other, midweek. He's saying it's so funny in our league that you lose 10 matches in a row. You are still not in the relegation zone. And they can win their match and find themselves in the top 8. It's something that is very funny about
That's
our
actually
league.
an interesting point.
It's something that is very funny about our league. But also for Mabudi, I think he mustn't maybe leave the club. I think it will do him good
For sure.
to stick around and learn from Coach Steve as much as Mushanyatama and Toko Mutoto did at Solos when he was there.
As a coach, he's still young.
Yeah, he's still young. I think there's really no rush.
Yeah.
Let him stick around, be assistant coach, learn from somebody like Coach Steve. Yeah, but I think it's a good addition for Golden Arrows. It can go a long way in terms of getting them out of the problems that they are faced with now.
All right, so we then also move over to, of course, a clash that we're all looking forward to at Mbombela Stadium, one of my favorite stadiums ever. That, of course, was TS Galaxy hoping to host Mamelodi Sundowns. And, of course, after the fights that have been happening between the coaches, a lot of people were looking forward to it. I know the journalists as well. They were hoping to get a follow-up from Coach Siya
Everyone's looking forward to the post-match press conference. You know what I mean?
Just fast forward the
Yeah,
game
hope for
time.
the drama.
Let's go straight to the press conference.
Forget the game.
But it always proves to be an exciting encounter. But unfortunately, it had to be postponed because of an accident that the TS Galaxy bus and the players that were involved in. But here's my question, Mahlatse, and I'll direct this to you. You look back into the history of the PSL. I remember when Madisha passed away. And it's interesting that it was the same fixture. Madisha passes away. Mamelodi Sundowns asked for postponement, but then the PSL says, no, unfortunately we can't because the league is congested right now. There's so many matches to be played. Fine, they take it, and then they go on to play. Evan's still moaning, Madisha, and they still win 2-0 over TS Galaxy. But here we are now, years later. TS Galaxy asked to be postponed, and they get the postponement. Talk to us about those decisions.
Yeah, also, I mean, with things like this involving Sundowns, we've had instances in the past where Sundowns have asked for postponements because of the jam-packed schedule and the traveling on the continent, and they were not really helped by the league in a way. So I look at this, and one thing that jumps to my mind is inconsistency, maybe double standards. I mean, we understand that the players may be a bit shaken, maybe been in an accident. You don't, it's not nice to be involved in an accident, but nobody got seriously hurt, except for the person in the other car, I think, who died, and condolences to them.
But at the same time, when a team loses a player, passes away, it affects the teammates. One of our team here passes away, it'll affect us.
And they didn't do that. No, nobody died here from the TS Galaxy point of view.
Yeah.
We may say maybe the players are, trauma and all that kind of thing. But I just feel it's a little bit unfair on Sundowns what they've been put through by the league sometimes, that some of these decisions tends to go against them. But they've taken it in their stride, and they returned back. They didn't make too much noise. I'm sure they'll. Maybe it actually works for them that the players go to rest a little bit, even though they would have hated the traveling, going all the way to Nelspruit and coming back and doing nothing there. But I guess they'll just have to refocus on their next match.
You mentioned Champions League at times and having to shuffle local games and the busy schedule here, including Champions League. It's interesting that at times when you look at teams like Al Ahly, sometimes the Egyptian League will give them, ahead of a big Champions League game like a semi-final, will give them a week off the local schedules to focus on the big Champions League game. It would be nice to see that sort of support being given to Sundowns or any team from South Africa that's in that situation and has a chance to, of course, be great and make us all great.
All right, we can also hear from you, of course, your thoughts on that. We move over now to Star of the Week. We'd love to hear from you. Who has impressed you in the last few days? Sizwe Mabena, we'll start with you. Who's your Star of the Week?
Has to be the youngster out at Kaizer Chiefs, scoring an important goal, first goal at Kaizer Chiefs this year, helping them pick up their first win this year. Also, I like the fact that he's come through the development, he's come through the reserve league, which is now serving great purpose for youngsters to, of course, get the experience and deal with some of the limelight ahead of going over to the big stage. So I'm very impressed with him. I'm hoping he goes on to have a great time and maybe even feature in his first derby.
All right, Mahlatse Mphahlele, what about you?
You should have asked me first.
You're going to pick the same player.
I think Wandile Duba. It's always nice to see young players coming through and doing well.
For sure.
Even though I always want to caution.
Of course. You say, what's your famous word?
Let's not overhype.
There we go.
Let's allow the kid to settle down. Let's allow the kid to play football.
Yeah.
If we put too much pressure, we actually cause too much problem for these young players. I'm always happy to see young players play. It's like 18 or something like that.
19.
19, it's the right age. Little bit late in terms of international standards, but he's there. Maybe he has done enough to convince the coach to play in the Soweto Derby. Who knows? He'll probably go down as the youngest player to play in the Derby if he plays. You know? So that'll be good for the kid, yeah.
Big up to Kevin Johnson for taking the risk to play him, with Chiefs struggling for goals of late. So good risk, and this has opened up his options from a striking point.
And also, it was a well-taken goal, yeah?
Yeah.
He received the pass, trapped the ball, took 1 or 2 steps. Keller, some of the players he's seen here. The ball is going to the ground, to the stands.
Roji.
The cars you talk about. I'm tempted then now to put in, of course, the other youngster from Orlando Pirates.
From Pirates,
I'm really
you have to.
tempted. He's there.
But
My player.
That's my player going into this derby that I'm going to keep tabs on.
Listen, I love Mofokeng, and I think he's a pure talent. Love watching him. But let's make it different, For me, Carlos Sainz, driver for Ferrari, was my Star of the Week. And the reason for that, after being announced that next year he doesn't have a contract because Lewis Hamilton will be taking his seat, he shows up and he fights. And he fights even when the team wasn't really, favoring him in terms of the strategy. So I was highly impressed by Sainz and that fight back that he showed. So for me, I'm hoping to see more of that. And he gave us, a little bit of excitement because that race in Bahrain was such an anticlimax. It was not exciting at all. For an opener, it was like, oh, okay, we're just picking up where we left off. So at least it was great to see Carlos bring a bit of action in terms of Formula One. We then move over, we take our quick run. I know, Sizwe Mabena, you don't run, you walk. But we take a run now and we head over to our athletics club where we find out what, of course, the Hollywood Athletic Club has to say as they prepare for the Two Oceans Marathon.
I think the tough part is past. Like I've said, in terms of preparation, looking at the route. I've done the route, simulated the routes around where I train, where we got like a rolling hills, upper hills and all that. But now we're going to start trying to do the hills very fast, a little bit, so that I can keep my heart rate at a specific point. We're going to start simulating the race pace in terms of our hill work. But I can say up to this far, everything is good.
So preparations has been going really well for Two Oceans. I'm happy where the training is at, and yeah, making good progress and excited to run in about 5 weeks' time Two Oceans. I'm trying to work on my weaknesses that I had in 2022, and unfortunately last year I couldn't compete due to a stress fracture. So this year going in, I'm very happy to be healthy and ready to race and be the best that I can be.
My condition is good now because we are starting to introduce the intensity part of training, because the easy part has passed, which is the light but heavy ones. So I think my legs now are starting to get faster and better compared to when I started, and the long runs as well are going to start to be faster. So I'm happy about that.
I think I'm in good condition. I think 4 weeks more training will just make me more confident. I'm thinking the confidence is picking up, but the last few preparation touches will just maybe put the confidence where it should be. And yeah, I'm happy where I'm at, and training has been going really well. Just seeing that I don't increase mileage too fast, too soon, and yeah, the mileage has been going well.
The lesson I've learned is that don't prepare for a summer sports or summer event into a cold weather. I think that was the biggest mistake that I've ever done in my life. But I'm grateful that I've joined the Hollywood Athletics Club. We and the director of Elite Runners, we have agreed that as soon as we are done with Two Oceans, they will also have to help me to go abroad so that I can be able to choose a place where there are hills, where the weather will be conducive for me to prepare. So I'll get a better weather this time, and hopefully that getting that, the support from the club, I'll be happy, and then I hope that I do well.
No, I think what showed me last year at World Champs that I really wanted to show myself that I can compete at a high level and be injury free, because I thought maybe it's getting into a routine that I crack under pressure, and that is what makes me every time injured. So last year I was healthy at World Champs. I wasn't as fit as I wanted to be, but at least I was healthy at the start line and I could cross the finish line. It wasn't a great performance, but at least it showed me, although I wasn't as fit as I wanted to be, I can still be healthy and cross that finish line and mentally overcome like the blocks I had with Olympics. So going into this year, that I will use as my confidence booster, that I know I can finish.
Know that the Olympics is a different sport, it's a different atmosphere. Olympics alone, just to qualify, if you go there, it's a pressure on its own. So why do I have to put a pressure on myself? So I don't have a pressure. My wish is that I can get a medal, I'll be happy.
Hopefully I am in the team, because then it will be my 4th Olympics, and hopefully I can make up for all the other 3. I didn't cross the finish line, so that is quite a soft place in my heart, and really something that I have as a goal, that I want to go and just be an Olympian, to cross that finish line and just experience what it feels like. So I'm really holding thumbs that I can make the team, and it will be a huge privilege for me if I can go to another Olympics and just be my best that I can be, and know I can be.
Our very own influencer, Mahlatse Mphahlele, was at the announcement, of course, of the Hollywood Athletics Club. Mahlatse, talk to us about that. I mean, we do know it is a big year in terms of athletics, with the Olympics coming up.
Yeah, I was at the Hollywood Athletics Club. Mm-hmm. They rolled out the big guns for Two Oceans Marathon next month. Stephen Mkoka is part of the elite athletes who will be representing the club. On the female side, Sian Olkno, who has been doing very well on the circuit. Also interesting about her is that short and long distances is there. But the most big one, it's Yvette van Zyl.
Yeah.
You know that over the last while, Two Oceans Marathon has been dominated by Gerda Steyn.
Yeah.
She is going there to try and challenge Gerda to see if she cannot wrestle this thing away from Gerda Steyn. And also, the interesting part is that Yvette Michel has actually already qualified for the Olympics. But there are other elite South African women athletes who have qualified.
Yeah.
They can only take 3.
Sure.
So the more...
There's times.
They're going to be about times and stuff like that. So the more they compete, the more they check the forms and the times and stuff like that. You put yourself in the team, and it's going to be very important how they do it. For Ebu Mukoka also has already qualified for the Olympics. He's talking about having to go to the Olympics and try and become the first South African in almost 30 years to be on the podium in the marathon. Since the days of Josiah Tukhwane.
Yes, I was going to say.
It's been a very, very long time. I think it's exciting times for athletics in the country. A lot of races to look forward to.
Yeah.
And obviously the 2 Oceans Marathon. And also the other thing about 2 Oceans Marathon is that you have got a lot of international athletes who will be coming here to compete. It's important that these guys and obviously other athletes from other clubs to ensure that both the men's and the women's athletes stay in South Africa. But it's not going to be an easy thing to do. Yvette also spoke about the personal sad story. She's going for a 4th Olympics now. And in all the races she ran in the marathon in the Olympics, she has never finished the race. And she just wants to tick
Finish,
that box
that's it.
of finishing. Winning it is something else, just to go there and run a good time and finish. And she says that is only unfinished business at that level. So
unfinished business.
Unfinished business. Yeah. So it was quite a nice, intimate event. Speaking to the guys and trying to understand how the preparation has been. Sometimes, we always see the finished article as they run on the streets, but we don't really get to understand what happened behind the scenes when nobody's watching. And they've been working very hard,
Yeah.
You know who's working very hard at just supporting South African sport? Hollywood Bets.
Yeah.
They identify either the best legends, from a footballing point of view. I love what they've done with the Hollywood Bets Super League the last season. They took 5 of the best players, I think, or so on, took them to Valencia, Spain. And here they are now extending a branch to athletics and marathon running. They really are doing great work for South African sport and helping support it a long way.
Don't forget the broadcaster. I mean, you also do a show and Hollywood.
Now it's going to look like I'm just buying points now. Like I'm trying to keep my job, so I try to stay away.
Try not to mention it.
And also the other critical element there is that of these clubs who looks after these athletes so well is that sometimes athletes are forced to sort of run every weekend to make money from wins.
Yes.
And then that leads to burnout, leads to injuries, leads to a lot of stuff. But if you have a good club like the Hollywood Athletic Club, who takes care of the stipends of the athletes, because they pay them every month. They look after them. And athletes knows that they've got money coming to them every month.
Yeah.
And then they sit with the club and with the coaches to decide which races to prioritize, so that most of these athletes don't find themselves having to force to run, to chase money. So that is very good, because it's not only good for them, but also good for the country.
100%.
Because we need these athletes to go to championships, to go to bigger races in Europe and all over the world, to really go there and do well. So I think it's a good thing that these guys are doing for the athletes,
It definitely is. On that note, we do know that the CSA T20 Challenge is upon us as it starts today. Let's find out how the Titans are preparing.
It was quite unfortunate that we obviously couldn't make the final of the 4-day stuff, which in return obviously gave us a little bit more time to prep on our T20 stuff. And the preparations have been really good. Getting the services of Albie Moko, Vernon, and Rivash Gorbin from an analyst point of view, which really helped in terms of us making sure that we put on a good exercises for the boys to actually just have confidence in their skills and can execute their skills and stuff like that. So it's been tough for the boys. We've had some long days, but I hope that it will pay off during the course of the T20 Comp. I'm happy with where the team is at. The exercises that we've done, we've seen a lot of good stuff. They'll be brushing up there and there, but I'm sure by Friday everybody will be where they need to be, and they'll be ready for the game. It's always good to have the Proteas back in our environment, to be honest. At the moment the squad is quite young-ish, and for those guys to come down and just impart their knowledge, experience, and to be playing with these kids, I think it will do a lot for the future of Titans cricket as well. So that's the encouraging thing about them being back, is the fact that the boys are looking forward to playing with them in the same team, and also, can ask the right questions from a knowledge point of view. Hopefully, they do ask those questions and get the learnings that they need for them to improve their game. Yeah, I was a champion last year. I'm like everybody else at the moment. We're starting on equal ground, and we're going to do our best to make sure that we win this trophy again. We'll do our absolute best. There's no pressure. there's no pressure at all. It's just we need to play good cricket. We need to focus on ourselves. If we focus on the things that we can control, there's no reason for us to feel pressure. And if we do it and execute according to the plans that we put for the team, then everything should be okay. Yeah, opportunities will always be there for everyone. They've obviously gone through the exercises that we've done leading up to the first game, and there's some exciting stuff there. And you just never know. We just have to make sure that they're always ready. If they get an opportunity, they're going to make an impact, a positive impact into what we're trying to achieve. Yeah, the big thing with a player like that is always talking a language of saying he needs to be consistent with who he is and focus on the things that he can control. He's a great talent, and I think if he starts focusing on the outside things, that might derail his progress. But if he focuses on himself and he focuses on the things that he can control, nobody's going to stop him. And that's the type of language that we try and keep with him. And he's a nice kid. He's got a good head over his shoulder. He listens, respectful, humble at the same time. And if we just keep reminding him to be true to self at all times and not focus on other stuff, he's all good.
Well, it is exciting to have some more local cricket action after we had a successful SA20. Mahlatse Mphahlele, you've been our runner this week and you've been doing a stellar job. Talk to us.
Thank you.
Hey, your fitness levels are coming right, eh?
I'm
You're growing and
highly
fit there. Lack of
impressed.
much
Fall.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the preparations and, of course, and what we can expect in this T20 challenge.
Yeah, I spent some time with Titans coach, Mandla Mashimbi. They're working very hard, the boys behind the scenes. When I got to SuperSport, I was pleasantly surprised because I go in there, Velen Philander is there, wearing a Titans kit. I said, oh, I had to make a major signing.
Okay.
It turns out that he's part of the extended Proteas coaching staff. They go to franchises, checking the performances of the players who are playing for the Proteas. He's not a Titans coach yet or whatever, but his presence just him being there. I mean, Ven was
Quality
a top
bowler,
quality bowler.
Quality bowler.
I call him the slowest, fastest bowler.
Yeah, I used to get angry with him because I always felt if he lost a little bit of weight, he could have played longer. He could have bowled longer and played more formats in the game than just the test game. But
You're the
what
last
a bowler.
person, though, to get
Yeah,
upset
so-
about people's weight, but it's
Wow.
Yeah, so it was nice to sort of bump onto him. But yeah, besides that, as we all know that the CSA T20 starting on Friday. The guys are preparing. They're playing against Northwest, their first match. And the nice thing about this season's CSA T20 is that CSA has somehow forced the Proteas players to play. You are almost guaranteed star power in most of these matches, even though some of the players who are contracted to IPL will leave in about 2 or 3 weeks to go join the IPL franchises. But still, you'll still be left with a significant number of players domestically who can be crowd pullers, and it will be good for the tournament that the stadiums are full and stuff like that.
And for me, that's the one thing the game has been missing, the local game, for maybe 15, 20 years. Since we were kids, the local game was huge. We didn't just wait for the Proteas to play against Australia or India. We knew who was playing in the local game, with Clive Rice, Richard Snell. We could name them. There were stars before they became internationals. Now we wait for the Proteas if we're going to talk South African cricket. So SA20 has done a great job of bringing attention back to the local game. And if this kicks off, especially with the star players being there, the Proteas players again star power, like you do say. And hopefully we'll have more people watching the local game and supporting the local game, which has fallen off for 20 years, in my opinion.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was my question, Mahlatse Mphahlele. I guess you can take it with following what Sizwe has said. Then when you look into the game and where we are and the strides that we're trying to make, I want to talk about CSA, the body, and the contribution that they're making and trying to fight to ensure that the game doesn't die, because it's not only the Proteas, but you also look into the domestic level where they are actually trying to also empower the young cricketers. Yeah,
I think, Sizwe, you're right. The talk around South African players not playing enough 4-day cricket. There's always this thing that if you have a player, or if you want to develop a player to go play full-on international cricket at the highest level, they need to play a lot of domestic cricket to sort of master the skills and temperament and pressure. Because Test cricket is, sometimes you can stay there for the whole day.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the Indian top order batsman, Cheteshwar Pujara.
Yeah.
He can stand there for the whole day, just blocking the ball for the whole day.
Yeah.
That's mental strength.
I know, I did
temperament.
3 days, I think once.
And, and at the end of the day, he scores 20 runs.
Yeah.
Having faced more than almost 200 balls.
Yeah.
So if you play in 10 matches in a season, you are not going to develop a proper international cricketer. I look at guys like Tony Jose, for example, who is based in South Africa. I just don't feel that he plays enough cricket. Maybe the option should be go to county cricket in England, where they specialize a lot in cricket. I mean, also just another point, look at somebody like Kagiso Rabada. His numbers are up there with the best, but he doesn't play enough cricket. Can you imagine if Kagiso was playing 20 test matches in a season? He will break every record that is out there. So those are the situations that we were grappling with. I've heard that the director of cricket talking about they are having constant engagements with ICC to sort of look at how they can give South Africa matches in the future toss programs, so that we get to play more. But it's very important that we need to do that. Otherwise, we won't produce top quality batters for South Africa.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then on that note, we move over as during the week we heard heartbreaking news, of course, in the South African football fraternity, where we heard that Dr. Sphiwe Mkhonza, unfortunately, is no longer with us. We managed to catch up with some of the coaches and some of the fans to find out what they had to say as they pay their condolences.
I felt so bad earlier on when I heard the same thing, but I knew that he was ill or something like that. But end of the day, even we group, because I told the players earlier on, because the others, they know that he was here, he was playing for Arrows before. Now, I think, may his soul rest in peace, and condolences to the family again. But it was very, very shocking when we hear Amanyosa Fanala.
On behalf of Kaizer Chiefs, on behalf of the chairman himself, we'd like to send our condolences to the Mkhonza family. May his soul rest in peace, and may it rise in glory one day when I'm in heaven.
Condolences to the Mkhonza family. I guess now and then we have to go through such things. So the family has to stay strong. As a Chiefs fan, we'll support them. Yeah.
What we can say to the family, condolences to the family, to the fans of South African football at large. Sphiwe Mkhonza served us well. He served the patch, we remember. He gave all when he was on the field. So we just want to say it's part of life, it's part of the journey. We hope that wherever he is, he's resting now. So it's very sad, but there's nothing we can do, there's nothing we can change. It's part of life, my brother.
Very touchy. For family ya Dr. Mnandi, ke mitsa Dr. Mnandi, Sphiwe Mkhonza. Ke ra se bona ba latlhetsweng ba le one, le rona as Makhosi fans, nna ke le Jo Banana ke re latlhegetswe, pelo tsa rena di robeile. So ke re aba dule ba tshepa gore modimo gona ka nako tsotlhe mo family ke re aba tshwarane e be ngate one. I just wish gore ba ka pick up mo Dr. Mnandi a fitlhileng gona ba tswetsa the love of football pele, because Dr. Mnandi be le motho wa rata football too much, ne le motho wa rata batho ka moka actually. Like for myself, ne ke rata o lebella di show tsa gae, especially on SABC Sports, because like bang motivate, especially on coming to soccer. If ne se ena na go ngwe ke be le no give up ile mo Kaizer Chiefs, but ba dula are motivator ebile are botsa gore o tloloka go pele kuwa. So ke le nna ke kgothetse ke re one day is one day o tloloka. So family ya Dr. Mnandi ke re pelo tsa lena di robeile le tsa rona di robeile, a re phuthaneng a moya wa yo roba le ka khotsa.
Mahlatse Mphahlele, I mean, we pick it up from you, an analyst, former footballer as well. Talk to us about perhaps, some of your memorable moments of Dr. Mnandi.
Yeah, I remember he was a not the most talented footballer, but he worked very hard, and during his days, it was not easy to play for Chiefs.
Yeah.
Now anybody can play for Chiefs now, but during those days, it was very difficult. He also played for the national team. Same thing. It was not easy to play for national teams in those days because we had better and better players and stuff like that. And when he retired, he went into commentary and punditry, and I think he did very well there. So sad for him. Condolences to the family.
Yeah.
And I think when his obituary is written, he will definitely be on the right side of things as a footballer and also as a commentator and a pundit.
Mabena.
For me, it's a great example to people that love the South African game. Yes, we all want to go play the Champions League, play in England, play Spain, Italy. But if you love the South African game and you dedicated to it, he's a great example of that. Played his whole career, played a long career. So in that alone, it's a great example for youngsters. You can have a long career playing for different clubs in the PSL and then still contribute to South African football. In the same way we speak of Steve Komphela, where you're still a pundit and you're still involved in the game. And I saw a different side of him when I heard him sitting as an analyst.
Yeah.
Funny side, an entertaining side. And I thought,
And I
wow.
love the vernac.
Yeah, I love
to
the
it as
vernac,
well.
and he gave it flavor, So, yeah, he'll be sorely missed. And again, great contribution to South African football. Great example for any players that will play a full career in South Africa and still have something to do in contributing afterwards.
100% from, of course, the Sports Arena show. We do say rest in peace to him and condolences to the Mkhonza family. On that note, we do move over. We do know that the Soweto Derby is upon us. Let's find out what the fans have to say. I mean, mixed results for both Kaizer Chiefs and the Wonder Pirates.
For Soweto Derby, that one, like, I ain't threatened, I ain't chosen. Kaizer Chiefs always, Pirates, they give it all. So, winning for Rona, I know that. We're going to win that Soweto Derby, Arbachabe, my Pirates.
I think it's just an obvious question and obvious. Yeah, so the answer is expectation. Pirates is a winner. Score would be 3-1. That's my expectation.
I expect Kaizer Chiefs to give it all and to make sure that we get the bragging rights, because you remember in the first leg we lost. And I blame the coach because of the first 11 that he put on that day. Kaizer Chiefs, along the Pirates should never beat us at any day, my friend.
If you can look at this performance, our players are doing very well, including the likes of Abo Mahopa. They are responding. Actually, they are responding. So I'm expecting a positive result.
We do have the players. We just don't have players that want to play for Chiefs. All the players, they don't want to play for the badge. They just playing for salary, I guess. But then other than that, we are going through a lot.
The Pirates is full of leaders.
Yeah.
So we can expect anything from anywhere. As we're seeing now, Okogi is on form. We're getting goals from Okogi. We can get anything from the midfield. Anything can come from Abo Mahopa.
Plus international striker
Mahopa, international striker. Uzex is back.
I must not run on number 11 number 11.
The derby is unpredictable. You cannot say because we won maybe 2 or 3 games and then we can win the derby. It's unpredictable. So I think the defense needs to be very solid. So the likes of Olisan now in combination with the likes of Toby, yeah, we need their experience.
I think boys must just relax. Hey, they must be themselves and then give all the best. I know what they're gonna give us, that best they know. And then I just wish the supporters Bakata Kabungata Stadium, but we support our beloved Kaizer Chiefs because Rata and I know what Lebo and Rata and they need our support, especially for Soweto Derby. Ergata Rata Stadium, the ticket is sold out. I think this thing can lift up their morals.
We now kick it over to football and we have the coolest cat in the land. It is William Shongwe to tell us, of course, all things about the Soweto Derby. He has played for Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs. And because he's a special player, a special man, he will tell us, of course, his memorable derby from both camps. Babuli, which one do we start with?
You know, that's actually the problem. When you say two, I'm thinking to myself, which one then? Because I'm telling you, there's no derby that is not special.
Yeah.
Maybe we should start there. But of course, every now and then you get the one that is like high above the other.
For sure.
But for me, it was the semi-final of the Mainstay Cup in 1987. Remember, it was the last year that the Mainstay Cup was going to continue to sponsor. And for me, even as a young man coming from Eswatini, I could see pictures of Abochipa Mahlatse lifting the cup, Tinich Ladla, Ace Tuling. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And there I was, 1987, I'm in the final of that same cup, and it's the last one. And I wanted to be a part of those players that will lift it up. So the semi-final actually is the game that I'm going to talk about against Orlando Pirates. First of all, because Tebogo Moloi makes his debut for Orlando Pirates.
Yeah.
And he strikes a long-range shot, and I try to parry it over. It bounces off the floor into my hands, into the top of the roof. And I'm like feeling, wow. I can't believe I consider a goal like that from such a range. And now we're missing. We are putting all the pressure there is to Orlando Pirates, but we can't score. And half time, I had to go to Mrito. Ace Nzoleng, we used to call him Mrito. So I knew there was no other player that was going to change this thing. And I didn't want to be remembered for having lost a game where I considered a bad goal like that. You know, people, they remember your worst moments. And so I went to Ace, I'm like, Mrito, how's Zambi's into Zakho? You know why Ace? Ace used to create a penalty that didn't exist. So, Nagunzima. And very convincing, and we'll get a penalty. But the worst part was that around the 20th minute, 80th minute or so, and there's only about 10 minutes or so remaining, still 1-0. I remember there used to be this big clock just behind the goals from the big screen, and that's how I used to watch every now and then. What's the time like? So now I'm thinking to myself this, and coach said to me to decide to substitute Ace. My very person that I was hoping would change this game for us. And he brings in Fanny Madida.
Yeah.
And that day, 88 minutes, I looked again and time was going. Fanny Madida came flying on the far side, on the left-hand side, from a cross by Fulman Mohenole. And he scores a cracker of a header, and it's 1-1.
Sure.
For me, that game had everything in it except maybe enough goals to, but the pressure was unbelievable. And then the other one, of course, is on the Orlando Pirates side. It's the quarterfinal of the
He's showing off now.
Hey, like he's got a lot.
He's showing off.
Guys, I can't help. Pirates are on the resurrection. And things have been better. I just joined them about 2 months back. And we just won a cup, the Castle Challenge. And now it's the Coca-Cola. It's the quarterfinals against Kaizer Chiefs. That stayed. We just beaten Crystal Palace, who were visiting.
Sure.
And people were raving. We were back. Pirates was back, and I was the man. And the stadium was unbelievable. FNB, of course. And we scored 2. 2-0, we're leading. And then, about the 80th minute, they get a penalty that didn't exist. To this day, I still tell Stan Swart that you cost me again. But Fanny Madida scores. Like, blimey. And then, because of the delays of us arguing and all that, I think the game stretched to about 110th minute instead of 90.
Of arguing over the penalty.
No, but the ref stretched it because there were delays. Because then he says, no, because you guys were arguing, so I had to top up. But it was way too long. And then they scored the same goal, went into extra time. Eventually, they scored the third and we lost the game. But the tension, the excitement, it was unbelievable.
I love what you're saying about that, Babuli, because even when you're speaking, I mean, I'm getting
feel it,
goosebumps. You know, you think about it and you're like, sure, man, that's the derby. That's what makes it special. Mabena, I mean, we know you've never kicked a ball and you can't show off like William Shongwe, but I mean, what memory do you have of the derby?
Yeah, that was a big blow. Yeah.
I'll just be nice now.
I'm trying to be nice, William.
This happens every 2 weeks. Anyway, for me, I'm going to talk about the last most memorable derby. And that was, I think, 2008, if I'm not mistaken. 2-2, the scoreline. Walaza scored, Kaizer scored on the one side. For me, that was the last most memorable derbies. There's others, of course, in the past that were great games and so on.
Yeah.
But for me, to match that standard and to have waited so long for that standard to be matched is just too long a wait, you know?
And furthermore, that game, it was an advert for FIFA because some of the FIFA bosses were in the country. So it augured so well to really attract that kind of attention to those people.
Quick one, Mabena.
The worst part, because I was already started commentating then for about 5 years now, studying to do derbies. I'd done quite a few by then. So I went on holiday then. And while I'm on holiday, I call home, I call my dad, hey, how was the game? He's like, you shouldn't have left. This is the best derby you would have done up to that point. And since that game, I haven't done a derby as good as that. So I came back and I watched that game, and yeah, he was right. I missed out on something there.
Did you ever utter the words click, click, bang
In a
at
derby?
a Soweto derby?
No, I don't think so. In a derby?
He says no.
I can't remember a goal that warranted a click, click, bang in a derby. Like, I can almost remember goals that warrant click, click, bangs. There's not that many. You know? But in a derby, no.
But for me, I'm just trying to imagine in a derby.
Plenty, I think.
No, it has to be a special goal. You can't just click anything. You know?
Yeah.
You need something kind of strike. You
And
know
then
what I
it-
mean?
you bang it in.
At the stadium
Unbelievable
against,
type of goal,
that type of, no, you can't just click anything.
All right, cool. Zizu, you've got a big one here. You got to top everybody else's.
I mean, it's unfair to ask us after.
We're only human. You know?
I mean, he played for both teams. I mean,
Actually,
it's unfair because I was.
as well.
Yes.
He's here now. He has played for both Houston Pirates.
Yeah.
Last week I was with Paul and Robinson Dlanja, played for both Houston Pirates. Stories for days. But coming back to I can't remember the year. If it was not Castle Challenge, it must have been the Telkom Charity Spectacular. I remember, the memory lives in my head. Sheikh Skumane, the late Meso, rest in peace, scoring a beautiful long-range shot from outside the box for Chiefs to beat Pirates. It was just one of those games. It also had everything, the tension, the excitement inside the stadium. I think it must have been the Charity because it was very late in the day, you know, under the lights and full old FNB Stadium. The excitement was there. It's just that one of the matches that had everything.
All right, are you guys going to ask me?
Oh, of course. Go ahead.
I'm waiting for you guys.
And all I can say is like, sorry, you must have only watched the most recent ones.
You are terrible, William Shongwe. Hasn't even played yet, so it's a derby. But I think for me, well, not I think, because I'm Legs of Thunder Junior, it would only make sense to pick Legs of Thunder Senior, where he shone the absolute most, scoring a hat-trick at a Soweto derby, showed Neil Toby flames, and I was like, now that's, yes, you know, that is what you want to see.
Near post. In fact, he was the last player to score a hat-trick in a derby, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that, for me, is, of course, the special one. But William Shongwe, I apologize. I'll get rid of my bub in a bit. But Willie, I mean, when you look into the last time you were here, we spoke about a young Ronwen Williams, right? Now we're going into the Soweto Derby. We've got youngsters. You've got Uwandile Duba. You've got Umufukeng as well for Orlando Pirates. Talk to us about the youngsters and what you're seeing in them. And I mean, the build-up that they've had to this Soweto Derby, it's quite special.
Very, very special indeed. But it's a pity that sometimes maybe so much gets said and it gets into their head that they play these type of games like long before they get into the field of play. And sometimes some of them don't have the character to actually absorb the moment and cherish the fans and all the attention that they're getting. Whereby when they get to the field eventually, it's like they've already lived the game. That's the only unfortunate part. I just feel like they could be left alone and contain whatever excitement and energy to themselves so that they can let it loose on the day of the game. It's one of those games that can set you off into a long-lasting career, or it could be the end of you. When the game has been built to that level of extent, sometimes it can take capture you and destroy you long before you really live up to the expectation that we had already.
Actually, now that you make that point, and I'm glad you mentioned those two young players, because especially Mofokeng, there's so much excitement around him over the last 6 months or so, that you get the feeling he could be the next Teboho Moloi, the next legend at Pirates. They've been so few since maybe Teko Modise, and you have to think sometime back at Pirates. But I have to ask you, for players like that, back in the day, when Khumani came through, there were so many players to lean on. That were stars, that had the presence, and that had the experience, and still had the talent. Doctor, Kuze, and so on. Do you think it's the same now for these youngsters coming through, where they're showing the talent, but there's other players to lean on in games of this nature, of this magnitude?
Unfortunately so, which for me, that's actually, I think it becomes a very big problem, because these youngsters are given so much attention as if now they are the real deal. Unlike the days of Dr. Khumalo, who still had the ace Jolengos, the teenage gliders, who they could lean off over for support. And right now, they're being put on the spot, and they're expected to be to be the difference in those games. It's way too big for some of these youngsters. Remember, people are betting their lives on these games. And
100%. There's money involved.
There's money involved. The tension that goes into the build-up towards that weekend. Some of these youngsters don't have the character and the nerves to be able to deal with that. Good players have disappeared, melted completely before our eyes because of the nature of this type of derbies. So I just hope for some reason we could find a way to protect them from the attention, but unfortunately we can't. We need these players to have the character. It's the characters that we're looking for. It's this type of games that makes or breaks the character, like I say earlier on. So the onus are on them.
It definitely is. And I mean, to stay with that, Mahlatse, you look into then Bruce Vuma, who was happy to welcome back Itumeleng Khune, saying that they missed him in the dressing room. So having him back just to be part of the squad, they feel that that's a big boost for them. Talk to us about the leaders from both camps. Yes, we see an Itumeleng Khune because he's been with the club for about 25 years. But then who else at Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates?
Yeah, I guess firstly, the timing of bringing Khune back is very interesting. Because, I mean, we don't know how far he has been from the team while he was suspended. He comes back to the camp now. He's probably not going to be in the camp, but he's back training now. The integration of him back into the side. Obviously, we know that he's somebody who commands respect from these younger players. He's somebody who does a lot behind the scenes and stuff like that. But I'm just a bit curious to say, what informed the decision to make such a big call like this ahead of a big match like that? Couldn't they have waited for a few more days to bring him back on Monday? You know what I mean?
Prolong it a bit.
because sometimes his return may cause a problem, depending on what happens, the dynamics that happens behind the scenes. Or it may work in their favor. He may come back and he galvanizes everybody. People are happy to see him. So I'm quite curious as to how they came up with this decision.
I find it interesting you say that. You remember there was a time when there was question marks as to whether he was going to leave Chiefs or not. And then he was dropped. The keeper who's now at Sundowns, the third choice keeper, was a super sport. He was a Chiefs at the time as well. Yes. And then he started the game. Khune was now back within the team, but on the bench. And as soon as he conceded a goal that it wasn't a blunder, it wasn't a goalkeeping error. It was a normal goal, like he was beaten well and truly. And then the fans started screaming, Khune, Khune, Khune. I felt there was such unfair on him. And you get the fans, you understand the fans thinking Khune is maybe one of the last great stars at Kaizer Chiefs. But I felt it was just so hard for Riyadh and Guti, Ish, what do you do?
But look at it this way. Look at it this way. Right now, what is lacking at Chiefs is there's no leadership. And I mean, you do with a Khune who hasn't been there for that long to just come stimulate a little bit of excitement. Because I think for the pressure that he might create to Vuma, I think who has grown up now, he can stand on his own. I don't think he's going to be deterred by the fans screaming a Khune on the bench. Vuma is now Bruce Vuma. So, but I think there can only be more positive having Khune there, because Khune will get into the face of one of the players and say, hey, right now, none of those players can do that to one another. Everybody makes a mistake and nobody walks away. And in the dressing room, nobody shakes the shirt of any other player. So it's all nice and people are very comfortable, but Kune will bring that.
In your time playing the derbies, who was the guy who was shaking shirts?
Listen,
who are you scared of?
Everybody, it was face to face and it was pushing, it was that.
In the change room?
Yes.
I remember Jerry Kusana saying the same thing.
Oh, man. Nobody wanted to lose, you know. But they did it with a certain level of respect that they still want you to feel that you're still needed. But you wake up. It's like they made sure that you're going to walk back there. You know, it was everybody. It was everybody. That's why I'm saying leadership. Leadership is what Chiefs doesn't have right now.
And I hear stories good. You used to start in the tunnel.
Yeah, no,
They
definitely.
used to tune each other in the tunnel, waiting to walk on already. Give William a message. You go to
Max Mapunyane, for one, he loves those type of stories. He will come to training and say, hey, Metro Pizza Tengu Bullies. You know, that is Manda's story. Manda's story was the most troublesome striker for me as an individual. Everybody knew that I didn't like him at all. And he used to make sure that he gives me all kinds of trouble just to work on my mind. So imagine your own player comes and now reminds me, oh, by the way, but that is what used to psych me up.
For sure.
Listen, this thing is going to change.
And I like that because you also listen to the likes of Diko Modise who allude to the fact that even at the tunnel, nobody's shaking nobody's hand, nobody's hugging, we're not friends at that point. It's literally a derby and we're here to fight. So we've touched on Kaizer Chiefs and perhaps Idun Nkune being the leader. What about Orlando Pirates? Who then is the leader? Yes, they've welcomed back Chayine back into goals and of course Shame who conceded a terrible goal for him, but what a brilliant goal it was against Cape Town Spurs on Wednesday. But who is then the leader at Orlando Pirates?
Well, Pirates, they are bad, but not as bad as Chiefs. If you know what I mean. If you know what I mean.
I get you. You just don't know
they're not wow. You know, you just need to look at the log to realize how bad they've been.
Yeah.
But I think they're better. You have got Nickel Team, you have got Chayine.
Monare, for me, because he's got the experience of having done well at Vets as well with that group of Vets.
Maela, so they've
got captains, you've got Sphiwe,
you've got players,
captain,
Toki, so you've got players who can go through this room at half time if things are not going well, and you know, and shake up things a little bit and help the coach to galvanize the players, or even on the pitch. Mambuis tells me a story that there was some time when they were playing and things were just not clicking. And he got the ball and he kicked it out deliberately.
Mambush.
He kicked it out deliberately and he started shouting at the players, asking for a reaction. And when the opposition threw the ball in, the ball was back in play, you know, they started coming up. You know, you need somebody like that who can sense that something's
wrong.
And I mean, you know, you look at the current players now, really. You know, we don't have such players.
You mentioned Mambush. He's got probably one of the most controversial moments I've ever seen in a soccer game. But one of the moments that shows you he was a true leader and he didn't want to lose with Charles Mutluwe. Remember that moment? And now remember, Charles Mutluwe is from Welcome, from Virginia, which is just outside of Welcome. So he's our hero as kids growing up. So you see Mambush then going up to him and getting physical with him. We felt a certain way about it being from Charles Mutluwe's neighborhood
because
and so on.
He had
but
to
he also understood,
responsibility.
this guy doesn't want to lose. And it was just a penalty shootout. And the anger was that Charles didn't take a penalty.
He chickened out.
And you know, so you need people like that. People who can rise to the occasion. It's a. I mean, regardless of how we feel about the current derby, I mean the current Soweto Derby now, it's not quite what it was during the days of William. But it still remains an occasion.
Yes. What's missing? In your opinion, what's missing from this? You said it last week. I need you to say it again.
It misses a lot of things. It misses characters. It misses players. I mean, I used to go to the old FNB Stadium to watch our doctor, you know, to watch our Debza, you know.
Tiki,
Tabo Moki, Shoes, Mushwe, you know.
That's one
thing. The list is
Jerry Squasara, you know.
Kelele.
I mean, you know.
Abu Majans, Mark Fish.
The current
and the list
players
could go on,
now,
right?
The list just goes.
The current players now does not measure up to those kinds of players who played for the team in the past. And they know it. But they just have to rock up there on a weekend and try and give us a match that we can remember.
Definitely, we can only hope for that. William Shongwe looking into Kaizer Chiefs now, and of course, I mean, the little bit of hope that they got against Golden Arrows during the week, they could take, of course, a little bit of that confidence going into the derby. But the beautiful thing about the derby, and I'm sure you know this, that form goes out the way.
Yeah.
It's literally just on the day, that occasion that you have to play. When you look into Kaizer Chiefs, I mean, they will be without Edmilton Dove, who got a red card during the week. So now talk to us also about that back line and how you're seeing them, of course, to protect Kaizer Chiefs, not to concede, of course, a Pirate side that will be trying to attack.
First of all, for me, I'm happy Bruce has suddenly risen to the plate to say, you know what, I possibly could be the next great Chiefs goalkeeper. And remember, there's a history of goalkeepers that have made it big. It's not everybody that walks into that position makes it.
100%.
So I think with his recent form and the number of clean sheets that is kept, I think it's 5, if I'm not mistaken, like back-to-back.
Yeah, well, in the last, but they lost conceded against Kukune. After that was 0-0 Royal against Royal AM, 0-0 against Milford, although they lost in penalties, but it still ended 0-0 against Morocco Swallows, and 0-0 against Golden Arrows. So,
You know,
defensively, they're okay.
You see.
They just can't score.
Yes. That, actually, if we're going to talk about Kaizer Chiefs, for me, is like, how do they now change it? Because clearly, for any coach that arrives into a team, the building block, the first building block is sort out the defense. And which I think Kevin Johnson has been able to sort that one out.
Yeah.
And let's just look forward to now. How do they? There's a bit of a challenge in that Mikkel. They still don't have their man. Teto came, but he started shakily. And I'm hoping that he could maybe bounce back. Johnson, of course, has had a 6 week of preparing this team.
For sure.
And he continued to solidify the defense, the defensive part of the midfield as well. But he's got to work on those transitions now going forward. They got to start scoring goals. They got to start convincing to the fans that Kaizer Chiefs can score goals. But make no mistake, though, the other thing that is maybe what deceived apart is these Kaizer Chiefs, yes, they're not scoring, but it's not because they're not creating.
Yeah.
The funny thing is they're still creating. I was looking at their stats. They're very, very convincing when it comes to the entries and getting into where they can take shots. But finishing has become one of their biggest problems, which is what I'm hoping Kevin will be able to deal with specifically.
Yeah.
And also, they're changing the starting lineup in as far as who's the top man. They don't have an out-and-out top man. Shivavero hasn't kicked into the right gear. And to Priya, they're shifting him into the right-hand side now. Hopefully that he could use the speed behind the fullback, because the fullbacks are the ones that tend to cheat and go forward. Maybe it will open up for him. Modi in and out of the game, scoring now and then, but it takes weeks before he scores the next one. So, but I feel with this youngster, I said it when I saw him make his entry against Swallows. And I thought, you know what, for me, this is the next real big thing. Before he scored the goal, you should have go and listen. I was like, Titi was like, huh? How much do you know this boy? I'm like, hey, look, I've seen a little bit of him, but look at the explosiveness of that structure. Great center of gravity as well, low center of gravity. And that, for me, I see things from just looking at the player, that's one. And when he scored, I was like, wow. But I didn't expect this much. But yes, Chiefs has what it takes to rise to the occasion, as you have said.
100%. Mahlatse, you look into, I mean, William Shongwe mentions Umodi, you also look into Umtetwa as well, and you also look into Castillo. The first time they played a derby was in November the 11th, 2023. So if they do play come Saturday, this will be their second Soweto Derby. If you do recall their November performance, talk to us about the expectations into this second Soweto Derby after getting those shivers off.
Yeah, well, the expectations will be high. I mean, as you have said, this is a big occasion. I'm sure they've been at Chiefs for a while now, so they know the pressure, they know what they've gotten themselves into. And I think now, knowing what they know now, because of the results haven't necessarily gone their way, they will also have to understand that sometimes you can have a bad season, but if you beat Pirates,
everything is okay.
True. You know,
so much.
beat Pirates and go and push for second place or third place, you know,
we'll be fine.
you'll be okay. So I'm sure they'll know that. It's more about the application, man. I mean, I hear Barabuli speaking about. Sometimes you also watch Chiefs, and I just don't understand what they are trying to do. I just don't understand what they're trying to do. And I've always said it on a number of occasions that I also feel that they don't know how to use Eshil to pray. I just don't think that they are using him to the best of their ability. He's a guy who can run and eliminate people and put in a cross. I know the Chief style over the years has not been wide, cross. Sometimes they prefer to come through the middle and stuff like that. But if you have a guy like this he's got weapons, as Rulani always say.
Yeah.
So maybe they need to find a way and how they can use him. I insist also on Zwane. I think the Zwane kid needs to be given an opportunity.
If you allow me,
yes, Willie.
the prayer issue. Great player, lots of speed, almost untouchable. But here is the thing: why it's not working at Chiefs. Any team except for Mamelodi Sundowns, maybe Orlando Pirates, any other team that plays against Chiefs, they'll set up a low block. And what happens with that low block is the space that Dupree needs to run. There's not there.
Yeah.
At Stellenbosch, they are the ones that were creating the low block. They allowed team to come to them, which created a space for them, and they had the players to find them. So that is the difference now at Chiefs, because other teams, they sit. So how is now Dupree, how is he going to use his speed? Maybe that's why I'm saying, maybe a little to the side, because the pushback, the fullback likes to push forward. Maybe he'll have, but I haven't seen it as yet.
But isn't that the issue then? In that we've seen other players go to other teams and even go to Chiefs in the past and develop upon their current skills, whatever they arrive with, in a skill set. At some point, if you get to a big team, you know there's going to be that low block. Then what do you build onto your game to break down that thing? And that's part of coaching. That's part of the development within the team.
Do they have time to be able to do that
and
coaching?
The growth. Well, that's how I look at it now. And the Chiefs, whatever they're trying to get back at in as far as their greatness, is going to take time, like you're saying. Kevin Johnson started off with his defense, and he's solidifying that now. We can see that in the results. It's going to take time to get to a point where it's flowing smoothly and they get a winning mentality. You know, when you start putting wins after wins after wins, and we just know when you walk out into the field which we're going to win. That takes time to build, and they've lost it over the years.
And sometimes also just to get it there.
Mahlatse, I'm going to pause you there because we are running out of time, right? And
sorry,
we have
guys,
to
I
let
took
go.
too much
I'm
of your
sorry,
time.
guys.
You can stretch it to 2 hours.
I would love to, right? Because it's the derby. But I mean, because of time, and just to also look into Orlando Pirates before we let you go, William Shongwe. I mean, we speak of style of play from Kaizer Chiefs side, but what about Orlando Pirates? You talk about the changes as well. You see the middle of the park changing quite often, and you also look into their backline where it's either a Sibisi and a Koki, or it's a Koki and Da. So the changes are there. So what do we expect then from Orlando Pirates going into the derby?
Once again, it's a derby. So you can't use so much of the past from how they've been playing. The players normally arrive on the day of that game. And Pirates, they might not have done that well in midweek, but it's a Spurs team that beat them in the first round. So maybe Spurs are slowly becoming a hooded team for Orlando Pirates in that first since returning. You know, honestly, I didn't expect that at all. But under Middendorp, obviously, you can expect anything. So, but for Orlando Pirates, yes, they've got everything. They've got a Spanish coach who has the players that can play. They can play different, they have different approaches. They can also score from transition play, which is very exciting when they come up with great speed, but they can also recycle that ball beautifully. All those defensive players that you mentioned, they can play off the back. And in their right full back, they've got a number of players that can fit in. The Monyane is one, and what's the Shandu is the other. And when they're fit, they can both fire with great speed down the wings. Maela, maybe not the biggest flyweight on the left-hand side, but he contributes quite a great deal going forward. But it's that center of the middle. Makaula is coming, has rocked up back, very strong.
For sure.
And they've got, alongside Munare and Tim, who can all play. Team.
Did you hear Tim in the press conference recently? Said in Zulu, you know, grounding. I like that attitude.
You know,
Just like, I know.
Here is his strength.
Like, no, it's a grounding.
Here is his strength. He sits a back alongside the back four. That gives him full view. There's not enough pressure onto him. And he can hit you with the long range pass. Watch him if that's something that you haven't seen. That is his biggest strength now, because he can see the view and he can pass.
For me, probably what I've been interested to see from Pirates is if this coach, Jose, is going to be brave enough and play talent and butter, because he has been starting matches now. He's in there. And I don't know what's going on.
And he's been giving him the chance.
And he got man of the match on Wednesday as well.
And you can see.
But he's building.
You know, you can see there's something there. I don't know what's happening with Ndlondlo. If Ndlondlo is fit and available, what do you do? You know, so yeah, that's the one area where I want to see what's going to happen. And also, he did say, the coach yesterday, that if there's Makhoba is doubtful, that gives an opportunity in the front there. So Mabasa started. Who is he going to start with? You know, so they are pretty much a settled side, with just one or two things that will be very important.
You know,
Season Mabena, we want to pause you there.
We had the luck of being with Mabasa in Kosafa. And you saw how he's built from that, yeah? And a great Kosafa, and he's been great this season.
Definitely has. William Shongwe, because we've run out of time, I'll start with you. Your predictions, how do you see this one going?
You know what? Pirates are doing well. I feel like they're stronger on paper against Chiefs, but Chiefs, more often than not, they've used, in the last 2 seasons, they've used the games, the derby games, as a springboard, to do well. Under Arthur Zwane, they were able to beat Pirates twice, and from nowhere situation. So I see something similar to that, but nonetheless, a great game. I'm going to be going there, by the way. I'm going to be watching, so I'm looking forward. Yes.
Which suite will you be in?
Wow.
I don't know.
Royalty. It's football royalty.
That's terrible. William Shongwe, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. And of course, we'll then catch up again soon, yeah?
Of course, all the time. I'm always ready. This is a great show. You know, I'm sorry to be taking too much time. It gives me the moments to be able to talk about, you know, what I feel and what I like the most, and that is football for me. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
And maybe just in close, it's also very important that the players must feel the way you are feeling, because I just don't think that the players quite understand what it means. I mean, you know, I can see the excitement in your eyes. You are not even going to be playing. Can you imagine if you're this is an opportunity that they must grab with both ends. Like you said, if you do well in the derby, you know, you can set yourself up.
Yes.
And I just don't think they understand, these guys. And unfortunately, that's their problem.
Get his prediction quickly, please. I'm dying to hear my prediction.
You're dying.
After he said that.
Yeah. Now go on with the prediction. Yeah.
What's your prediction?
My prediction? The derby is always difficult, you know.
Very tricky.
Yeah.
But I have a theory. That the
let's hear
team
it.
that goes into the derby not doing well is the one that normally gets the result. I'm going to be brave and say I think Chiefs will beat Paris.
All right, Sizwe Mabena.
Me, Pirates is just a stronger team, stronger unit.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with
On
Pirates
paper,
on this one. On paper, Pirates should be close to Sundowns.
Well, this is going to prove whether the man who's not played football or the ones who played football are spot on. We'll find out, of course, come Saturday at the
You know what, I'm going to come
Soweto
with proof
Derby.
next week, man. I'm not going to say anything. I'll just bring proof next week. I'll bring pictures. I'll bring pictures. I'll send you the pictures. You know? I'll just bring proof. Me in soccer boots and everything.
All right. Please, I'd love to see that. That's it from the Arena Sports Show. Keep the conversations going. And, of course, let's enjoy the Soweto Derby.